Julie is a professor at the University of Gloucester in the UK, professor in innovation and sustainable agriculture, I believe. And Julie, like many of us, is a reformed soil scientist, I think, who has moved through to the area of knowledge creation, knowledge sharing. So, Julie, you have 10 minutes to give us a quick debrief on this area.
Okay, thank you very much. My screen is very cluttered, but hopefully you can. So my task today is to inject a little bit of social science thinking into the discussions about on-farm experimentation, and specifically to look at the social and organisational dimensions. There we go. So, as I said, we're going to draw on some social science perspectives to try and understand how value can be created and shared in these on-farm experiments. And there's a rich tradition, as many of you are probably aware, that we can use to inform our discussions. Farmer participatory approach has been mentioned already, and transitions within social science and extension science. There's about how we think about the agricultural knowledge system or the agricultural innovation system, how we now think in terms of social and technical innovations together, co-innovation approaches, building capacities to innovate, and an overall shift in how we position the relationship between research and practice, a shift to user-driven research, co-production of solutions and so on, what we call mode 1 and mode 2 research. Increasingly over this period, we'll learn to recognise the status of farmer knowledge as well as formal scientific knowledge. So we're thinking about not only scientific credibility here, but also about whether it's salient and legitimate by bringing in the farmer's voice. And alongside that, we have great developments in transdisciplinary methodological frameworks as well that have been in parallel with these sorts of discussions. So that's just to give you a few social science speak, if you like. And here's a characterization of it. The diagram to show you at the top here, the linear models, the mode 1 research paradigm, the linear science-driven technology transfer, and then at the bottom here, the mode 2, the more interactive innovation driven with iteration, dialogue, and reflection. And then joining together in this complex middle ground here, where we endeavour to try and share the same definitions of problems, to integrate knowledge and to co-produce knowledge. These are all great words. We're still understanding how to do it. They're aspirations in many cases as well. What we're trying to do is to make the hard science a little more transparent and salient by combining it with the soft science, if you like, by bringing in the salience and the legitimacy of multiple actors and how they interact. So a quick thought about understanding value. We've already had from James a fantastic unpacking of what value is in terms of the cost side. It can take many different forms. It's experienced differently by many different beneficiaries as well. So that's why different perspectives are important, because that brings in certain power dynamics as well. And of course, it's going to be of little value, OFE, if it doesn't lead to effect decisions on the farm or higher up for other partners as well. So traditionally, value is associated with the technological and economic performance on the farm, the difference between the utility and the cost. But what I wanted to say in this presentation is there's a range of other benefits and values as well that can also result out of OFE. And these happen at different scales, including different temporal scales as well. Just drawing on some of the innovations thinking, some people like to talk about the hardware, the software, and the orgware, where the hardware is our traditional territory of thinking about technologies and innovation and performance. But the software is the people, the competencies and the skills. And then the orgware is the organisations and institutions that go with those. So if you think about generating value at these different scales, very simplistically, we can move that from individuals to research partners and farmer networks, working together up towards systems. Obviously, these are all interrelated, and this is just a simplistic diagram. But this leads up from individual farmer learning, experiential learning, and enhancing decision-making on the farm. As we move up towards networks and communities, the way working with research partners, that enhances co-learning and brings value at that stage. And then as we go higher up the scale, we have social institutional innovation changes as well, and changes in those sorts of social structures. So as we go up the system, we get not only the capacity to change, the capacity to answer questions and adapt technologies and solve problems, but institutional changes as well. Farmer learning, we know, creates value for the farmer, and farmers have always done this through individual inquiry and problem solving and reflection. This experiential knowledge diagram here replicates what we saw from Roger earlier. And we're learning that now that that's being enhanced with what's called epistemic experiments, and it's data supported with research complements as well. This adaptive management is nicely coined in terms of learning to manage, but also managing to learn. So that captures what's going on the farm. And as we've said earlier, value is always conceived as a synonym for farmers' decision-making performance, but actually can be in the short term or giving immediate value, or it can be continuous and long term as well in terms of building capacities and capabilities, skills and critical thinking and so on. Then there's the co-learning that goes with the research partners. There's support in terms of co-design all the way through to interpretation of results. So we integrate the farmer's empirical knowledge and experiential learning with expert knowledge. So that's suggesting metrics and experimental designs, performing analytics and interpreting. Also creating new methodologies and skills that can be replicated, new capacities, not only amongst the farmers, but amongst the researchers as well. And trying to complement this understanding not only of the what, but also the why. And then creating value with farmers and their networks. Different sorts of networks or communities or business models are active. These are different sorts of social structures. They might be informal or formalized. They might agree on a collective action, or they might be very loose networks of people. But these act to distribute the value or enable social learning and joint experimentation. Again, they act by interactively generating data and learning together, and we've got some fantastic examples of those around the world. Just in UK, we have monitor farms, farmer research networks, field labs, and the FIGs that Roger alluded to earlier in Yen. And creating value through sharing, whether we can provide data to other farmers or replicate the OFE model at scale, or pool the data, the small data, and create big data. This can lead to platforms of engagement around OFE. So we can explore these additional technologies, and Yen is a great example of that. So I'm just drawing to a close now. I'm thinking again about how we can scale up and scale out. So we can distinguish these. OFE can help to challenge current assumptions and approaches about how we do research and bring about transformational and change in agriculture by institutionalizing OFEs. It can build relationships, build skills and operational capacities. It can also help to scale out. It offers new ways to share data, replicating new models, the process of joint experimentation, design, analysis, and build digital literacy. But it needs an enabling environment as well to help embed OFE in institutional change. Last slide now, I'm getting my alarm, so that I should draw to a close. This is just to highlight that the temporal aspects are important as well. Whilst we can bring immediate value, solving a problem on farm, we also have to think about longer term in terms of potential value, this capacity building, this human and social capital, and the ability to learn and think critically that comes with time. And there's a chance of applying the value, the changes in practice, the adaptations and the applications of knowledge, and then the realization of that value, the actual performance improvement and the organizational innovation as well. And with help from the enabling environment, the enabling value below, we hopefully can bring about some sort of transformational in the institution. That's my last slide. I just wanted to highlight, zoom out a bit on the notion of value and show that there are scalar elements to this as well, and that there are different sorts of social dimensions that we should be thinking about. I'm sorry, that was all a bit of a rush, but I'm happy to answer questions later.
Thank you, Julie.